Tycho Brahe was a famous scientist who lived in the 16th century. He was born in Denmark in 1546. From a young age, he was very interested in the stars and planets. He loved looking at the sky with his eyes, and later, he used telescopes to see even more clearly. Tycho Brahe is known for his studies of astronomy, the science of stars, planets, and space. When Tycho was a young boy, he spent a lot of time looking at the stars. One day, when he was only 14 years old, he saw something very strange in the sky. It was a new star that appeared out of nowhere. This event was very important because people thought stars were always in the same places. But this new star made Tycho curious. He wanted to understand more about the stars and planets. He went to study at a university in Denmark, but he was not happy with just reading books. He wanted to do experiments and study the sky with his own eyes. So, he began to make his own observations using the best tools he could find. Tycho became very skilled at observing the stars and planets. He made very detailed notes of what he saw. He used large, special instruments to measure the positions of stars and planets. These instruments were not like the telescopes we use today, but they were the best in his time. Tycho Brahe did not believe everything other scientists told him. Many people thought that the Earth was the center of the universe, and the sun and stars moved around it. But Tycho had a different idea. He thought that the Earth was in the center, but that the sun and moon moved around it. The other planets, like Mars and Venus, moved around the Sunday. This was a new idea, and it was different from what most scientists believed at the time. His idea was not completely correct, but it was an important step toward understanding the solar system. One of Tycho's biggest achievements was his work on the planet Mars. He studied the movements of Mars very carefully. He noticed that the planet did not move in a simple way. It seemed to go forward and then go backward in the sky. This was called retrograde motion. Tycho spent many years watching Mars, and he made very accurate measurements of its movements. These measurements were later used by another famous scientist, Johannes Kepler, to develop new laws about how planets move. Tycho Brahe also had a special place where he could study the stars. In 1576, the King of Denmark gave him a beautiful island called Hven. On this island, Tycho built a large observatory, which he named Uraniborg. The observatory had large buildings where he could keep his instruments and make his observations. He also built another observatory called Stjernborg. These buildings allowed him to work in all kinds of weather and at any time of the day or night. Tycho's observatories were very advanced for their time, and he used them to make many important discoveries. Tycho Brahe was not just a scientist. He was also a teacher. He had many students who learned from him. One of his most famous students was Johannes Kepler. Kepler was very smart and became a famous scientist himself. Kepler used Tycho's measurements of the planets to discover the laws of planetary motion. These laws showed how planets move around the Sun in elliptical orbits, not in perfect circles as people once thought. Kepler's work built on Tycho's careful observations, and Kepler's discoveries helped to prove that the Earth and planets moved in a way that made sense in a new, scientific model of the universe. Tycho Brahe's work helped change the way people thought about the universe. Before Tycho, many people believed that everything in the sky revolved around the Earth. But after his observations, scientists began to think more about the sun, the planets, and the stars in new ways. Tycho's careful measurements and ideas helped to show that the universe was much bigger and more complex than people had once believed. In 1597, Tycho Brahe left Denmark because of a disagreement with the king. He moved to Prague, where he continued his work in astronomy. There, he worked with Johannes Kepler and other scientists. Tycho died in 1601, but his discoveries lived on. Today, we know that his observations helped lead to the development of modern astronomy. Tycho Brahe was an important scientist who changed how we understand the stars and planets. He worked hard to make accurate measurements and develop new ideas about the universe. His observations and ideas were important steps in the development of modern science. Although he did not have all the answers, his work helped later scientists make great discoveries. Tycho Brahe's life and work show how curiosity and hard work can help us understand the world around us. He was not just interested in facts, but in finding new ways to understand the universe. Tycho wanted to explore, and his drive to learn led him to create new ideas that would help scientists for many generations. Even though his views were not always correct, his work pushed others to think differently and continue his studies. His passion for the sky led to discoveries that would influence scientists for hundreds of years. If Tycho Brahe had not been so dedicated to watching the stars, scientists like Kepler and Galileo may not have made their discoveries. Tycho's life is a great example of how one person's hard work and curiosity can change the world. He never stopped looking up at the stars and trying to learn more. And because of his efforts, we now know much more about the solar system and the universe. He helped to lay the foundation for modern astronomy, and his legacy continues to inspire scientists today.